something. I know what see this. And if anyone is here, please let me know if you can hear me. I'm pretty sure I changed the audio back, but if not, I need to refix that. All right. All right. Pull this up. All this stuff. And then maybe some people will filter in. This is excuse me. YouTube. This is not travel and events. Oh. Wow. Skyhawk, hello. Thank you for jumping in. Get that there. Move this there. Yes. Okay. I am going to give it a few minutes here. See if some people might trickle in, because I want to cover the basics first. So if anybody, my cheese stick, good. You probably shouldn't be watching me for that, but some general basic knowledge of how to do things with like the generator. And like I said, get into the weeds a little bit later with seeds stuff and kind of like decision making processes and stuff like that. I did see that sky. I mean, I heard that Skyhawk. So, all right. Sorry, this is my lunch. I'm doing this, then going to the commentary right after, I'm assuming. Unless this doesn't last that long. Oh, yes. Oh, and you already got the challenge marked. Okay. I have a win. Unbelievable. Okay. So, it's been a few minutes, so we'll just go ahead and... Actually, you know what? It is too warm. I need to open my window. There we go. That's better. That's better. All right. Window more open. Fan blowing on me. Okay, so again, the basics and Gorodor. If you're, you're here. If I miss anything, or please let me know. So very basic stuff. So when you get planets, it gets updated fairly regularly. It's probably not going to be updated throughout the tournament. Hopefully not. We would get mad at Bacon if we did that. But the current version is version 1.33i. So once you download that, it's its own little .exe. It's a fan game that's made based off of Metroid, visually based mostly off of You know what? I'm out of this one. There we go. Let's do that one up. That's a little bit. But it's a fan game based off of Metroid. Visually, most mostly resembles Nestroid, but with some extra stuff thrown in. So when you download it, when you open it, I mean, you're going to get this. I'll tell you the version number. Little number in the bottom left. It's the version number, but it's also the frame rate in this case. Yeah, so there's the version. I mean, you could just click in the window. When you have rooms already downloaded and imported, every time you open it, it will do this finding files. The turning pack is not on this PC, it's on my other PC. So I have like about 22,000 rooms on this particular one. So the more rooms you have, the longer it's going to take to find the files, and then it loads them. But this is your main menu. There's a couple of things on here. You can play Zevith. That's the original Metroid. It does have some different options. There's a randomizer with it. You can include the new items and planets in that as well. But it's basically just Metroid in this engine. And you get a little text scroll up there, which sometimes you will see something that says secret code, and then it just has whatever that code is. So, hey, Mike. Yeah, yep, I have you on there. So, yeah, so, you can hear me, right? I'm not talking into the ether, right? Oh, I guess I should doubly make sure on that front. Okay, good. Good. Yeah, so the more rooms you have, the longer it's going to take to find the files or whatever. You can start seeds or things without that finishing. It kind of just pauses it until you're back into the, I guess, main file thing. I'm just going to let it load, because there will be some things with the rooms I do want to show, and I'll need it to load to show some of the generator stuff. They're in the game, technically. They're in the game. But yes, you will see secret codes in there sometimes. Those actually do various things. While I don't think technically we banned any from the tournament, there's a couple that are just visual stuff, which are perfectly fine, won't really affect anything. And then there's others that actively would do things that would hurt you as a player. But there are secret codes we can put in. Anyway, so now it's going to load all the rooms, and then we can look at some stuff. Oh, and I guess say I'll wait till this thing finishes loading. Again, if you don't have any rooms or that many rooms, it won't take this long. And there's all the rooms. So if you ever wanted to put a secret code in, or try it out just to see what it does, you just click on the main menu, and then you can type it in. That's how you input the secret code, is from this. So anyway, yeah, Planet Zevith. This is just the. I guess I had a file at one point. It's just the original game. When you click on any of these, it's going to just bring up. You've got 3 save files per thing. But yeah, you can either do a standard, randomize plus, which will have the new items, and stray, which is a little bit different. And then you've got your different seeds, but that's and some difficulty. That is just the basic Nestroid map. That is what that is. Again, in this engine, which is mostly the same, but not quite. Well, actually, I take it back. Now that some things have changed, it's not definitely different now. Otherwise, Novus, that is, early on there was a set world. That's kind of like a Nestroid 2 sort of thing. But since some updates to Enigma, that's kind of broke Novus, and it hasn't been a high priority for Vacant to fixed yet, but that's what that is. Hopefully it does come back. So it's pretty cool. I did enjoy it, but that's some other time. Enigma is what the tournament's based off of, and this is what the world rando is. It's like you have a randomizer for the original world layout, but this is where when you download rooms and import them, this is how you create your randomized world based off of the user created rooms. It's Enigma. Connect is a multiplayer thing. You will need to do some port forwarding, but you can host, I think you have up to 7 other people. I think it's up to 8 players per Connect session. But you can play around with everybody. You can either there's multiple things with Connect. Like you can share all of this stuff. You can synchronize enemies, or you can either cooperate or have versus mode on. Maybe it is up to 10. It's more than one. It's a multiplayer. It's basically a way for like Gorodor, myself, Skyhawk. It's a way for those to play the same seed, and this is something we kind of want to do for a tournament at some point when some extra things happen with this, but right now it's not really feasible. But yeah, you can either work cooperatively in a seed, or you can work cooperatively in multiple ways. Where like if you share everything, then if one player beats Bosbo or Spores 1, every player has that boss defeated. If one player goes to Mother Brain, triggers the escape timer, any elevator the other players get to at that point will take them off. They beat the seed at that. Or you could not share that and just basically share information while playing the same seed. And then you can do a versus mode, which obviously is not cooperative. And in versus, there's a couple extra things. Every now and then there'll be like a golden enemy that shows up. And then if you destroy that, you'll either get you will receive a temporary status buff, like regenerating missiles or energy, slightly faster speed. Or you can temporarily debuff another player, like disable their morph ball, disable their map, stuff like that. So that's kind of what versus is. It's a fun thing, but options, pretty straightforward. You can set your controls for your gamepad or keyboard. Tournament aspect ratio, we want 4:3 because that's how the layout's set. You can change the amount of detail you want on your heads-up display. I always have it on detailed, but that's up to you. Particles, you can just turn that on or off. Basically, correct me if I'm wrong here, but basically I think this only affects like certain tiles in the foreground. If you walk through them, when they're set as foreground tiles, there'll be like a little particle effect. Like little bushes, they'll have like little particles spraying off the bush. I don't think this affects hazard rooms. Am I correct in that, Gorodor? Do you know, or Skyhawk, if you know? Because that would... And like in rooms with lava, there's particles that kind of rise off the lava. I don't think this affects the hazard room doors, because that's the way it visually kind of tells you a room's a hazard room. But anyway, particles, they're just extra little things that make things look nice. And then you have, obviously, your volume. And then the showroom info. I think in general, it's probably a good idea to always have this on. Because, again, even with the tourney pack, it's 16,000 rooms. It's a little under 16,000. You're not going to remember all these rooms. Even if you have 1,000 rooms, like, you're really going to remember all those rooms. I highly recommend always, but you can just have it show once, and then it will never show again. You can have it just show per world. And then always. I do recommend always. But those are your options, and you can do your credits and whatever. So basics of Enigma. So this is again what the world generator. Oh, that's the seed I just raised. So you basically have, once again, once you go into your Enigma menu, you've got your 3 save files, and then you basically have your worlds and your rooms. To make worlds, you need rooms, and for rooms, you can make your own. The Enigma, the planet's community Discord hosts a lot of the room packs. A lot of people post their rooms there, so you can download those. And once you have something downloaded, you can go import them in, and then they will show up in your list here. So like I said, this is not the tournament pack. It's on my other PC. Oh, they will affect hazard doors. Oh. In that case, I would always recommend having particle effects on. And you'll see why once I get to showing that. You'll see why, but I would recommend that always being on then. Yeah, so I've got 22,000 rooms in here. A lot of these, just stuff I've grabbed, stuff I've kind of curated myself, and stuff I haven't got to curating for myself. These are just rooms I like for, well, so far I like. I've not played all these, but it's rooms I expect I would be okay with in my own personal seeds that I might generate, whatever. But your whole list of rooms will show up here. And then you can go through, so say you find a room you got stuck in, it just made you angry, you don't want to see it again in any of your seeds. And instead of, scrolling through this whole list of 22,000 rooms, you can filter things out. So, like the simple thing, you got organized by designers, only rooms by yourself, and you can see in the top right now it's showing 491 of 21, so it's showing you all that. Then there's criteria only, Brinstar, the area only stuff. Only 1 landing sites, the alphabetical, which is what I believe this thing was in originally. So that's the simple way. If you want more advanced, you've got this menu here. If you know who the author is, you can look up the author. Oh, that's the room name. That's not the author. That's the room name. So if you know the room name, this will get you straight to the room name. Designer, that's the author. So that brings up this menu. And you can't just type the name in, apparently. You have to find them in the list. Then hit enter. Then you can check that off. So if you don't know the room name but know the author, you just put them in. You can see it'll just narrow it down to their rooms that you have on your PC. And if you still don't know the name and don't want to look through all 100 to find that one specific room, something that will help, if you're in the room menu over here on the right, and you hold your cancel button on your controller, that brings up this room overview. So you can kind of see like this shape. So if you know the shape of the room, you can see the preview of it here. So that might help you narrow down your search even further at scrolling through the rooms. So like this room, you may not like drunk dwarf voting because this one is entirely RNG. You need everything in there to work right. You may just want to remove this from your pack entirely so you don't have to worry about RNG. You could just, if you didn't know the name, this would kind of show you the room. Basically, the little pink squares up top are enemies. Those are actually robots. The yellow squares are a block type. So in this case, they're crumble. Or they're chain crumbles in some case. The white block you see is the item, or an item. And then the light blue on the bottom right side is the door. And then your deeper blue is just solid tiles. That's kind of how you differentiate and look at those things. How to kind of know what you're looking at, because obviously it doesn't show you the room itself, it just shows you kind of the structure of the room. That is one of the ways you can go through the advanced stuff. Or you could just exclude their rooms entirely, you know, remove the 105 from the pool. Or just hit it again, go back to not doing anything with what's in there. If you want rooms for a specific area, you could do the same thing. Focus, you probably won't get too much, at least right now, out of this, because not a lot of rooms are tagged with specific. These are your 3 different tags. You got puzzle, combat, and movement. No, there's a lot of rooms that just don't have any, because they don't, which is fine. So you can, so like there's 1,500 rooms in my own pack here that have the puzzle tag. That's something if I wanted to go through. That's still a pretty big list to go through if I wanted to. And then tags. So this is when you make a room, you can add custom tags to your room, and that can kind of help you to sort them, and keep things organized in a certain way. But like, so every tag that an author has on a room, once you've imported it, will show up in this list. So like, all of these are different tags that are included. So like some, I think, so yeah, like there's different types of there's brain, and then you've got all these other specific type of brain things room authors have put in. But it again, it's kind of a way to help organize stuff. But there might be a specific tag you may not like. Like for the tournament, let me see if I can find it. For the tournament, the TGIF Junior, there's a troll tag somewhere. I may not have any on here. Yeah, I don't have any troll rooms on here. But those aren't in here at all. Like those would have been deleted out of the room pack. They shouldn't be in there. So, and if there's no rooms with that tag, it won't show up in here. So, I mean, TGIF Junior, they're kind of like mini troll. It's not like a troll tag for Super Mario Maker. It's kind of like a miniaturized version, but still maybe not a pleasant room. So that's a type of tag to look out for. And then you can even sort by the number of doors a room has. If you just want to look at like hub rooms, or rooms that have more than 10 doors, and see what you have in your pack, you can do that. Your number of items as well can go up to 3, because that's how many items you can have. Your screens can go 1 to 25. Again, if you want to just find bigger rooms. Maybe you have a big room that's only 2 doors. It's just a long hallway or something. Or I guess it'd have to be more than a hallway. It can't be 25 screens across. But that's another way you can sort through things, because maybe you want to remove bigger rooms. I don't know, but you could look through. Pathing rooms. So you can look specifically for rooms that have, you know, any of these in pathing. But only one at a time. But, so basically, pathing is how the generator is told what it needs for that room to exist in a random world. When an author makes a room that has item requirements to get through what they are hopefully doing, and generally mostly do, is almost always an accident when there's a pathing issue, is they put, and I'll show this once I get to the room, but they have to actually put the pathing from door A to door B, from door A to item A, from door B to item A, from item A to door B, from item A to door A. You have to put pathing in for each and every thing. Unless, of course, you know, it's a 1x1 room. There's just an item on a pedestal right there that you can just grab. and then you can leave the room. There's nothing needed. There's no pathing needed because you can just go in, get the item, and get out. But anything where you have like a morph tunnel, you have to have that morph pathed in. Otherwise, if you don't path it in, when Enigma generates the seed, it's under the assumption that you have pathed the room correctly. So it could put that room with the morph tunnel in a seed and then create an unbeatable seed because it did not know you needed a morph to cross that room because it wasn't pathed. So pathing super important. We'll get to that in a bit later. But again, if you had a specific item you wanted to check any rooms for, this is how you'd select that item and check through there. Then you can just check straight up landing sites, bosses, map scanners, elevators. So like 650 map stations, only 1,100 boss rooms, 615 landing sites, and 3,000 elevator rooms. So yeah, the whole lot you could do with the advanced builder. You can really look through a whole lot. Then of course, if you just wanted to export your whole pack so like what we do with the attorney pack, I have nothing selected once we've got what we've got what we wanted, and then or done any updates to the pack to fix pathing issues or removing some rooms. That's happened a couple times already this tournament. Once that's done on the one PC, I just select it all and export them. That's all. And you can go and select individual rooms and export those. You can save the images. So that's all fun. All kind of the fun stuff you could do. So that's your room list. And let me go to kind of show the actual room thing itself. So I guess something else you may be seeing some of these icons on the side. So like this is a boss room, which has got the red skull. That's a landing site with the ship next to it. And then anything I'm looking for in particular, we'll have the other icon. It'll be up a little bit here. So the wrench is a room that is incomplete. So this will never generate in a seed. I don't know what I was doing there. Apparently I did something with that. But a wrench is just a room that's not built to the means it needs to be in order to be generated, because it's like the walls are missing, so it has no floor or something like that. So anyway, kind of shows some of the padding stuff. This is a room I was just started on. Don't get any flashbacks, Corridor. I'm not really going to show much about building the room itself, because that's not necessarily important to generating seeds or anything. But to kind of show what's needed for pathing. So if you do build any rooms or anything, in fact, so in order to test it, the room does have to be playable, which means it's got to have that stuff put in. Any screen with a vertical door, that entire screen top has to be solid tile. If there's not a vertical door on it, you don't need a solid tile. You have to have one extended in if there's, vertical door next to it. Goes over one. But otherwise, the rest of this can just be air. It's going to assume up here is solid. So, and then the floor has to be solid, or you can have lava as your bottom tile, and it will kind of assume a solid floor at that point. That does not mean when you see lava pits in a seed or in a room that you should just ignore them. Because, again, people hide secrets down there and jump in the lava, and hey, there's an item down there. So anyway, for pathing for this room, so what this room's designed for is morph ball, spring ball, high jump. Like there's no other way around this. So let me just give myself bombs and morph. When you're in here, like you can't bomb jump across this. You're gonna trigger the button, close the gate. You can't do it with just spring ball. You don't jump high enough to lay a bomb that will miss the switch. You're going to hit that switch no matter what, unless you have high jump. And that'll let you cross the barrier. So that's the premise of this room, is it's an item check for morph, spring, high jump. And it doesn't need bombs. And you could do this with any room. So I'll just really quickly say, any room you see in that list, you can select a room, go over into edit, and see the room. And like if you have questions about how a room works, or you're confused about how a certain mechanic worked, you can go in to the room by selecting it, hitting edit, and it'll bring up this view. And then you can take a look around and see, what's going on with the room. Like you might be wondering why your wave beam, because if both buttons trigger the gates, then hold on, let me get bombs here. Let me see if I can actually do this. So if both buttons trigger the gates, if you have long and wave, why can't you just get a beam shot under there? Why is your beam stopping? So if you're ever curious about that, it's almost always a Zebetite, especially when you hear that little dink sound. That's kind of a way room authors use to make sure you don't circumvent the one thing they want you to the specific item set they want you to have. So if you see Zebetites in walls, sometimes it's probably just to prevent some combination of wave and long beam from breaking their intended solution for the room. Anyway, so when making the room, and you have, whatever it is you have in there, whether it's just the morph tunnel, or in this case, morph spring, high jump, what room authors should be doing is going into the path settings and in the progress, and then here you see kind of right now, the green is the starting point, the red is the end point. So this way it's just going, right to left here. So door 1 to door 2. And right now, there's no path requirements here. So I know this needs these 3 items. And that's the only 3. Doesn't need bombs, doesn't need any other. So that's the only thing I would save in there. But I have to do it for the other path too. Because remember, it's for every point to every other point. You have to path. So you can't put one in and just be like, okay, I'm done. Yeah, you have to do this for everything. So now that that's there, save the room. Now, once the generators, and again, this room's not done, but once the room's done and I have this, in the generator, when it goes to build the world and it tries to place this room, it knows now that for either door connection, the player is going to need morph, high jump, and spring, which means that once it places this room, morph, high jump, and spring will never be beyond this room because you need those items to cross through. So, and again, so when you get broken seeds, it's normally because there's a padding issue of some type where someone accidentally forgot. They might have padded it one way, saved, forgot to do the other. It might be a room with 10 doors in it, and they pad 9 of them and just accidentally missed one. It happens. So, but padding when building a room, if you ever do build rooms, very, very important, because otherwise you're going to get broken seeds, and it may not show up right away. Like rooms in the tournament pack we've had this year, that have broken seeds in this tournament pack were in the pack last year. They just never generated, or they just never, or they did generate, and we were just fortunate last year where they didn't actually break the seed in that case. Whereas this time they've broken the seed a couple of times. So pathing issues, I'm very paranoid about pathing because it's something you may not catch for years. The room may show up and it just may not be show up in a way you may already have the items you want the player to have, but the game's. I don't. It's. I'm. I. I just want everyone to be overly paranoid about pathing, just because some things can go wrong. Soft locks are door specific. Basically, this is just if a player were to enter this door, like there's no floor here right now. So if they were to enter this door, they would fall all the way to the floor. Right now, as the room is, that is a potential soft lock. So in this case, they would need high jump wouldn't cover that. They would need space jump to get up there. So that's just telling the game that, hey, the player should have this item before reaching this point. So there might be a space jump check before this point. It will have a room where space jump is pathed or required before this point if it places this room and this from this specific door first. It still might place the room starting from the door over here, because then there's no space jump, soft lock, players can get back up. So basically it's just if the player enters this door, can they turn around and get back through that door? If they can't, it needs to have a soft lock prevention of some kind, which could be, any combination of stuff. And then you can have kind of like and or scenarios. So let's say, for instance, for this room, let's say, let's put a bomb block. Right across. And let's just move this guy out for now. So now, what you could do with this room, because you have one solution, which is morph spring high jump, or you could just have morph and bombs, and you have another solution. So what you can do with pathing and that situation is, that's where these ores come into play. So one path solution now has both are going to require morph, so we can just leave morph up here in the main requirement. That's required for every solution. But then we have the alternatives. You either need morph, spring ball, and high jump to get across, or you can have morph and bombs. So you can do alternate pathing solutions. You can make multiple ways through a room, and then the generator will be able to build the room and place the room based off of your alternate solutions. Because now it has a possibility of not needing 3 major items. It might only need 2. It's a different situation, and allows a little more flexibility. And for the rooms that show up that have multiple pathing options, not issues, then it can, in various seeds, as the room keeps showing up, it'll have the option to pick to place a thing, and you might, play it in one seed and have, the morph spring high jump requirement. The next seed, it might only require morph bombs because the way that items were placed in the generator. So that's things that can be done as well. So that's kind of how pathing works. I'm not making that an option for this room. So let me just go do this, because I want to keep that wrench on it. Or by myself, I need to finish this room. And this is just, if you save it when it's not playable, it tells you, and then it shows you why it's not playable. It's like, hey, these things. So that's correct. No, yes, there is no such thing. I mean, as of right now, there is no one-way path for the generator. So any room you come across through any seed right now, you can safely assume is not a one-way. That may be a thing in the future. The pathing option is there to have, like, this particular path here just straight up impassable. They can only go one way. So that would be for something like if there's a crumble block that you can only break in the one direction. But again, that's not implemented yet. Any room with, you can make the room and set that as impassable, and in the future that may be a thing. It'll just never spawn right now. But you can, if you have the ideas, whatever, and make the room, you can do that right now. And then hopefully in the future, Vacant will have that implemented, and then you'll have those rooms already ready to go. So yeah, that's the pathing. So, and that's where a lot of the issues with seeds can come up, is just accidentally forgetting pathing. So again, very paranoid about that. Yes, Corridor's right. So just make sure to get all that. But again, any room that you might have question on. So let's let me. All right. So up here, let me try. Where is that room? I'm trying to remember the name of that room you did. The like timed puzzle thing that you don't like. Actually, this would be a good one. So something I do want to touch on when you're playing seeds, and again, another reason I always suggest have the room author, the room information always show up. Because then when you enter the room on the bottom left, it'll always show the room author, the room name when you enter it. That is helpful because room authors have their own styles, and like this, the bubble room, I tag my rooms with the custom area of Bubble Deep. I'm not the only one who's made Bubble Deep rooms, so there's other potential Bubble Deep rooms that might show up that aren't made by me, and that can be somewhat important to know because room authors generally have their own styles. So for instance, let me just get in here. Ignore this, it's a hazard. Here, just so that audio's not playing. Where is it? These little hangy bubbles, when I place them, they're always non-solid. That is just how these are, which is important for this room because this room does seem to get some people back. Let me just go give myself some items here. So I always have these as non-solid myself, which may not be true of other people. But if you're familiar with how I build the rooms, since the thing with this room is there's an item hidden in lava pool behind a wall. So to get the item, you have to defeat all the enemies. Which, because this is just the room edit, you don't see the thing on the map. We'll come to that. But basically, you just have to destroy all the Zebatites, and then you can get your item. But something you might notice is there's a Zebitite there in the bottom left. And you're not going through the wall to destroy that. But there's air, and this is what a lot of people I've seen play this room don't catch is, hey, I make these air tiles. So there's there's a path to break the thing open to allow you to get that Zebutite, and now the item's open. If you're not familiar with, me as a room author, like not understanding how I like to build my rooms with like a specific tile being a specific way, you may miss that entirely. Although I do realize I need to update something on this, because something else that I like to do, which I don't know why I didn't do here. Um, Another habit I have is, all of my bubbles, all of my big bubbles are basically this guy right here. That is all. That is, except when I do one of these guys, and when I have one of these guys in, it is always. Let me make sure it's correct. Yeah, that looks right. When I have one of these guys in, I use the bubble with the extra little stuff inside of it as I always use it as a marker to show, hey, this is not a regular bubble. You need to. It is destructible in some fashion, either with the missile, a shot block, or a bomb block. So that's an update there. Maybe that'll help players. Maybe that'll help with this particular room, since I've seen some struggles with it. But again, if you have, let me look up. Different author. Let's look up Catalyst, and then we will look for bubble rank. So, Catalyst's bubbles are solid. Like his little hingy bubbles down, they're just solid tiles. So, again, the room author know how they kind of like to do, or how they use their tiles. And hopefully everybody who makes rooms or has their own custom areas that they're building rooms for stays consistent with how they build their rooms. In general, that's true. I can't think of any examples offhand where that's not true. But again, I use these as air tiles. Catalyst has them as solid tiles. And you can see he's got, these other bubbles with the stuff inside. He doesn't just use the big empty bubble. He uses the other one. When I use those as indicators of a destructible block, in this case, it's all just solid bubbles. It's all solid tiles here. Okay, I guess, take that back. I shouldn't say about this room. There is some destructible tiles in this room. But that is how the difference between how a tile can be placed in any fashion the room author wants it to be placed. They have 3 different layers. Your main layer is everything on this layer is solid. It's what the player interacts with. You can have your front layer, which Samus will appear behind. It's basically just an air tile that Samus will walk behind. And then you have the back layer, which is an air tile which Samus will walk in front. It's pretty straightforward. So that's something. It's just knowing how room authors generally tend to handle certain tiles or whatever, or how kind of like a specific custom area might tend to do certain things. I guess tropes is a word I would use. I'm not sure if that's a good word for it. Like, their areas may have a specific type of gimmick or something that they like, and so that they use that for that area. That's why I always recommend, have that information always show up on there. You don't have to. And again, I don't notice it all the time. Like, I mostly pay attention to it if I have a question about a room. I might go back in and out, reload, make sure who the author was or what the room name is. Because sometimes something you'll find happens is some people will put a hint for the room in the room name. I'm not generally a huge fan of that, but there's nothing against it either. So that's kind of a little overview of how the rooms that are built kind of go into the generator, tell the generator what it can do, or what it needs to do for certain rooms, without really getting into building the rooms so much. So your next thing would be, once you have rooms, and you do need a specific amount of rooms. You need a landing site, you need elevators, you need bosses, in order to generate a seed. If you don't have something or enough of something, it will let you know. It's like, hey, I can't generate this. I don't have the means I need in order to do that. So your world is how you would create a world, and how you would import your world. So once you have your rooms, and again, you don't need a whole lot. The tournament pack, I think, is a good start, even though there still might be adding issues within the tournament pack. Hopefully not, but again, it's a fairly decent starting point. Again, we took out all the troll rooms, we took out the TGIF rooms. We tried to curate it so it's not super hard. Like, there's still rooms in there that, I mean, people can definitely complain about, but there's, relatively speaking, it feels like a very safe, generalized room pack to work with, versus just downloading everybody's rooms. Because, like, there's rooms of mine that aren't in here because there's one I just beat. I'm like, this does not belong here. Oh, thank you for the bits. I did not create planets. Fake and Shade created planets. I'm just trying to go over some basic stuff for people. But thank you. So I lost my train of thought entirely. All right. Anyway, so yes, off the start, you can either generate or import. Import's pretty straightforward. You download a world, import the world. It'll show up in your list, and then you can play it. You're right. Generate. There's a lot of things you can do in generation. So there's a simple generation, which basically just uses what you see here. That's a very simple, or if you just want it to do, like, quickly put something together. That's a way of doing it. There's not we'll get to the advanced settings here, but basically, your game, like, that's just your world size. So, you know, there's, like, small, medium, large. And this, you can choose the amount of areas up to the 7 that you want to show up. Have the challenge be a little bit different. You can highlight a specific designer. Like, if you want to make a seed that has your own rooms in it, you can, you know, choose yourself, so you can see how you get a seed with, you know, with the rooms you've built into it. More likely to generate into it anyway. I'll make it saying that, yeah, beginner starts with the map revealed and sensor core, which we'll get to the cores a little bit, but that may be very helpful. Like, even if you just grab the tournament pack and, you know, use the beginner challenge in the simple generation here. That way you start with a sensor core, you have the map revealed, you can just, you know, go through, look through the world, know where all the things are and stuff. That might actually be a good starting point for that. Again, you can highlight yourself. It's two different game feels. I think this affects a couple of things. Correct me if I'm wrong, Bacon, but Classic, I believe, does both a normal item progression, and I believe it sets it so that the area connections have their set logic to them, and Chaotic just does Chaotic for both. So, like, a normal item progression would basically be Morphball's always going to be like your first or second one. Morph, missiles, bombs will generally show up super early. It'll be like feel more like a normal Metroid game, whereas Chaotic could do something where morph is the 6th item. You start with Space Jump. Wave Beam's your 2nd item. Yeah, basically it allows for a variety of like item start and the progression since then. And you can tag any of the other tags if you wanted a specific thing to maybe show up more often. You can choose that, but you also get these two already seen and not yet seen. I'm not sure how it keeps track of this, but you would have to say. But generally, I believe how it works is it kind of keeps track of rooms that have generated before already, and then if you have the not yet seen, it could still include those rooms, but they're not. It prioritizes other rooms before them, and the opposite would be true with already seen, where it would prioritize rooms that it has generated before, but it can still generate the others, but they're not the priority rooms. That's your basic simple generation. Your advanced gives you a lot more options. You can either pre-configure it off what you have or not. So this is the advanced menu. This allows you to more fine-tune stuff. So again, you can choose the amount of areas. So it's down to 2? Yeah. So from 2 to 7. You need at least 2 because you need an area with the landing site and you need terrain. Or Torian if you're saying it right. And you could choose anywhere in between that number. Or those numbers, 2 and 7. 7 is just every area. And 2 is obviously just... 2 will be terrain, and one of Brinstar, Criteria, or Northair. So does it keep track of rooms you've played then? Not rooms it's generated, it's rooms you've played. Okay. So that's how it keeps track of it. That is good to know. Okay, yeah, that is good. So yeah, rooms you've played. That's what it will. How it keeps track. Okay. So your size, you can go anyway from tiny to large. Basically, this determines the amount of rooms per area. So if you have, 2 areas set to tiny, I believe tiny is it's like a room range. Each of these set in. I believe tiny is 10 to 15 rooms. Small, I think, is like 15 to 25. Baker will have the actual numbers, but basically each increases the amount of the total rooms that can show up per area. You're not sure? Okay, Bacon. All right. Bacon doesn't know his own program. But it does affect the amount of rooms. So, like, again, this is probably wrong. Bacon doesn't even know. But, like, small, you could expect about 10 rooms per area. Medium's probably 20-ish. And then 30-ish or something for the large. That's not... Like, each one it increases the amount of the size of, or the number of rooms it will add into the area. So that's what that affects. It's like you can have a 7 area seed, but if it's tiny, the seed may be 70 rooms or 60 rooms or something like that. Whereas when you get it to large, it may be over 200. So those are 2 different ways to kind of control the size of the seed you're doing. Layout. So this is how the areas connect to each other. So you got 3 options. For the tournament, we're doing chaotic. Basically, chaotic means I guess you could kind of consider it like a no logic type of connection. Any area can connect to any other area, and there may not necessarily be a rhyme or reason to it. Standard, this is every area has, well, not every. There are specific connections in standard. So for standard, you have your 3 different landing site areas: the Criteria, Brinstar, North. Any of those can connect to any of the others, and they will connect to any of the others. A wreck ship will always connect to Criteria. Ridley will always connect up to Norfair. Trade will always connect up to Brinstar, and then Terrain will connect up as like a bonus to either Norfair, Brinstar, or Criteria. So Terrain's just going to pick one of the 3. The other 3 have a specific area that's kind of connected up to them. They're like a sub area of sorts. That's what standard is. And then the 3 areas that could have the landing site, they will all connect up to each other in somehow. So like Criteria could go to Norfair, Norfair could go to Brinstar. Or Criteria could connect up to both Norfair and Brinstar. That's how everything's connected. You can choose a starting area. And from you can either pick random, or if you wanted to force, like if you have a Criteria landing site, you can, or you just want to see more Criteria starts or something. Or if you just want to start in Brinstar and see how that affects these, because there's a required boss in Brinstar. But you could pick any of the 3 areas, or just have it be random. That's pretty straightforward. Oh, actually, I forgot. There's one more. Layout. Let me get back to this. Centralized. Okay. Or say Criteria in general. That is true, but so layout. The last one is centralized. This one basically creates a seed where an area is the hub, and every other area is most likely connected off of that one area. I think it's always connected off that one area, but I might be wrong. But generally, you have a hub area, and everything else is pretty much just connected up to that central area. That's why it's called centralized. Which could be, in this case, the centralized area can be any area. Terrain can be your centralized hub, for instance. So that's you're not going to start in Terrain, but it can be the hub. So that's your third option with that is. And then chaotic, again, it's just stuff can connect up wherever it wants. So yeah, the starting area, pick any of the 3 or random. And then you've got a couple of other things here. So custom area menu. This is not something we're doing in this tournament. We did last tournament, and we want to go back to it in the next tournament. This is where you would select. So if you've built, your own rooms, you're kind of designing, have your own style for these rooms. You've got elevators, you've got bosses, you've got landing sites just in case, map stations. You can go in, and if your area, just a recommendation for people, if you're building a custom area, please have at least give it the ability to replace any other area. Preferably you have multiple of every boss, multiple landing sites, multiple map stations, multiple elevators, everything. But if you have at least one of these things, you can replace any other area. So basically in this menu, like I can go and I know I can replace terrain with, I know how to spell, Bubble Deep. Oops, let me back up. So now instead of terrain, Bubble Deep and the rooms that are tagged for that custom area are going to be that final area. And you could do that, with whatever else. So for wreck ship, maybe I want Chizodian. You could even, for Kraid, let's replace Kraid with 1x1 Ridley. You could replace Ridley with 1x1 Kraid if you want to do, or 1x1 terrain. Although 1x1 terrain probably does not have a Ridley in it. if I had to guess. But you can, you know, replace, again, if you're working on custom area, you can replace, you know, any of, if you have the prerequisites for that area. So a landing site for these three, a map station for these three, a boss for these three. Wreck ship is vacant. Where's Phantom vacant? Make wreck ship useful. But you can, this is how you'd replace those areas. And again, in the future, this is probably something we're going to be looking at doing again. But this is how you would go in and just, you know, select. Oops, I did not mean to do that. I did not mean to disable it. This is how you would select those areas. So the yellow is the base, you know, wreck ship, or the base of that area. I guess you could disable the area entirely if you wanted to. Or you can replace it, you know, with whatever else you want. And again, these are all the custom tags or custom areas that people have started to build. The number on the right is the total number of rooms. So there's like 202 rooms in this. You can see if they've got a landing site at least on the left side. It does not show you the bosses. Basically, if you try to generate a seed without that boss, it'll tell you it can't generate. Because it doesn't have the boss. So, like, you can have, you know, best world. Apparently, there's a best area that's separate. This should probably be combined, maybe. But, you know, you could select, you know, whatever. As long as it meets the prerequisites for the area, you could select it and replace that area. And in-game, when you play it, if I did replace Ridley with best world or whatever, when you go into Ridley, it will show best world instead. So that's another thing that it does. And you could change the exclusivity, which kind of explains it up top. Could be no exclusivity. So like if best world was replacing Ridley, Pad District, that's the only area those rooms will show up in is Ridley. Do only if used. If the custom area's in use, then it won't place them outside that area. Or you could just have that. No exclusivity whatsoever. So those are the options within that menu. And then the room waiting. So you've got a lot of things in this menu here, and I need to get a drink here. I keep talking, board, or I may not be able to do comms tonight. So your room waiting is done through all of this. You can do a whole bunch of selections through here. So you can do, you know, by designers if you want your own rooms to show up. Or not show up. Basically, you know, if they're white, it's neutral. Green, it'll give preference to those. Red, it's gonna just straight up exclude them. So that's how you do it. And it's gonna be the same with all of these. So like with the tags. So if you move in the tags, you can again do the not yet seen, the already seen. But like if you have, in some cases, you may just not want, or you may have a tag, you know, and stuff you've been working on. Or you just want to see more of a certain tag. You can go find it, highlight it, or if you don't want to see it, exclude it. Landing sites, you can force a specific landing site by excluding every landing site except the one you want. So you can force a specific landing site if you really wanted to. You can use it for that. Your style, I'm honestly not sure why you would change this. You can. Basically, you have your three options. You're balanced. Have it focused more on like hubs, which will your areas will more have a general like hub room in them, or more just hallways. Not really hubs. It's just basically linear paths throughout. You know, there'll be a couple rooms, you know, with more doors, but then it's just hallways off those. So that's kind of there. You could focus any of the possible room types. People might have tagged them for the puzzle, the combat, and the movement, or any. So again, if you wanted a more combat orient focused one, and people have tagged it, you can do that if you would like. Massive rooms. So specifically 13 or more screens. If you don't want to see massive rooms, you can exclude them. that is the option. So you can exclude them or allow them. In my own pack, it looks like that takes off about 500 rooms. So there's about 500 rooms, at least that I've got on here, that are bigger than 13 rooms. Or screens, I should say. The ideal room size to go from 1 to 5. That basically most of your filler rooms, your hallways between stuff, that's kind of the size it will try to fit in, I guess, or prioritize a little more than some others. You can have repeated rooms. So this is more a problem if you have a smaller room pack. If you have a larger room pack, you could just straight up exclude repeated rooms, and that basically just means, you know, you're not going to get this room showing up twice in that scene. Or you could discourage it, which is kind of like the preferred, but the opposite. It's a not preferred, but not outright excluded. Or you can allow them. Like, just basically neutral on it. Doesn't matter. And then filler rooms. So these are your dead end rooms. So if you have like a hallway, you get to a 1x1 room at the end. It's just a refill. That's what a filler room is. It's a termination of a travel point, basically. Your hallway terminates in this room, and there's, in this case, if it's allowed, you can just have a refill room. No item, no elevator. There's just nothing. You can exclude those, you can discourage them, or outright allow them. Those are your options with that. So that's what you can do with the room waiting. So you can, between the 6 up there, that's a lot of fine-tuning you can do to your seeds. Your map scanners you can either have on or off, if you want them to be there or not. Ship hints, you can have this on or off. Ship hints, what they basically do is, once you've collected an item, you can then return to the ship, go in the ship, and it will highlight an item, the next item in the progression list on the map, its location. It won't tell you how to get there unless you have your map revealed. But it's going to say, this is the next item in the progression. And once you get that, you can go back to the ship. You can basically do that the whole time until you've got everything. But that's what ship hints are. You have to return to the ship every time to get your next hint. Your map reveal, you have different things. So you have your auto map, that's generally what you would expect when playing a game. You enter a room, and now shows up on your map. And it just fills in as you explore the room. You can start with the map just fully revealed if you want. So there's no... this is like a good practice thing if you just want to see... You want to play a seed, you want to see the rooms, but not get kind of, I guess, screwed over by any hidden secrets. You'll see on the map, you know, every room on there, so that you can, you know, play through, and it may be, you know, some hidden paths that you may not notice just playing through the room, but then you see on the map, it's like, oh, there is something here. You go back and look, and hopefully you see the hint at that point. But it's a good practice thing, because you can see where all the rooms are. It's just how to get through or get to them is then the puzzle, I guess, at that point. Or if you just want to play without a map, you can do that. I don't know why you would, but it's a possibility. Sometimes I know Epi in the Sunday weeklies, sometimes he has this particular setting on because some people like pain. So that's an option if you don't want that. So the hazard runs. This is, you got your 3 options, allowed, forced, or none. None means you will never, ever be required to do a hazard run without various suit. Yes, I can't even think of the suit name. Like if you see a heated room, you turn around because it's the game. That seed is not going to expect you to do that room without Varia. So if you see a heated room, Varia suit should come before you cross that. You can have them allowed, and that allows the player. It is possible you may cross some heated rooms without Varia. That may be a requirement of the seed. Possibly. You don't know. And then there's just straight up forced, which you would expect to have to cross. I mean, you're going to have to cross heated rooms without Varia, and forced. Honestly, I have found that allowed. Let me put it this way. I found that forced heated or hazard runs, you call them heated runs in basically any other Metroid game, but the hazard runs and this forced is basically it's basic. From my experience, it's easier. Those runs are easier than the allowed ones. Because again, you're expecting to do them in forced. You're going to have to do them. But generally, they seem to generate easier. When they're required in allowed, it's a lot harder to determine if it's something you should be doing or not, because you don't know. So you might get a few rooms deep and be like, this hazard run is still going. This does not feel right. It might be, but you don't know. But those are your options with the hazard runs. And then you can... The customized music, I mean, this doesn't do a whole lot, but you can, if you just want certain tracks to play while playing the game, you can customize that for everything. For every area, you can just have one song play throughout the whole game if you just want that one song. Just put it for every area. So you can customize that. And then the last thing is the customized items. So again, this is where your item progression, you've got your 3 options, your normal. So again, as it says at the top, follows the typical progression. It's kind of what you would expect from playing a Metroid game. So your morph ball is going to be super early. Your bombs are going to be early. Missiles will be early if you have those main missiles required. And basically, it's like space jump, screw attack. Those will be late. Your beams will be somewhere, probably more in the middle. Long beam will be your first beam. Or it should be your first beam, logically. That's kind of what normal does. It's a more straightforward, predictable item progression. Grouped? I've not done a whole lot with grouped. Kind of... So, how I tried to imagine this was... it's saying, there's preset groups of progression. So, like, if you start in criteria, the group of progression it might give you is like morph, spring ball, high jump, and then your next group will be like bombs, missiles or something like that, or maybe long beam or something. It like creates these little pods, these little groups, and place them. It honestly feels the times I play with it, it felt a lot more like normal than chaotic. but I haven't played with it that much. But it just kind of creates, like I said, these little pods of logic pods that it places the items in, and that's a group. And it builds the world kind of based off of that. Oh, it does it like that? Okay, hold on. So vacant says group is based on item type. So all the beams, or all morph, or all suit stuff, I guess, etc. That is weird. Grouped is weird. I don't have a whole lot of experience in grouped. Did not seem to be the. Oh, maybe if I played it more, it'd be a little more interesting than the few times I played with it. And chaotic is just whatever. Oh, so if you get a beam, you know, the next few majors. Okay. Oh, so like so in that case, if you start your landing site, you get long beam. You know, your beams are all basically your next progression is just beams. Or if it's you start with like a morph, oh, your next progression is going to be your morph stuff, kind of grouped in. Okay, that makes. That's how that kind of works. Little pods place there. Unless it's chaotic, it's just whatever. It's whatever the thing decides to do. Chaotic allows for like a space jump as your first item start. It could be a wave beam first item start. Basically, anything is open in chaotic. And then you can specify if you want to exclude any items. So they're either allowed or excluded. So if you just want a seed that has no bombs, you can exclude bombs and create a seed without it. That's what you can do there. Your cores are next. And these are, again, just allowed or excluded. And we'll get into the cores a little more about what they do. End game, I guess. But you can allow or exclude any of them. Your energy tank variants. So there are different things you can allow or exclude on here. So you have your full energy tank. That's your standard E tank. But then there's an energy tank half and a quarter, which are exactly what they sound like, but they do not refill your energy to max. Only the full E tank does that. If you get an energy tank half, you'll get 50 additional energy, but it'll only give you that 50 energy, and same with the quarter. You'll get 25 energy, but it'll only give you that quarter, or that extra 25 when you pick it up. It won't fill you back to max. And then energy tank parts, these are just heart pieces from Zelda. You get 4 of them, you get a whole E-tank, but until you get 4 of them, they're just something you have. They don't actually do anything for you. So the missile launcher, this just determines whether the main missile is going to be an item or not. If it is, it will be a major item. And if it isn't, any missile you pick up will just let you use missiles. And beam amps. So these are another item with specific planets. Basically, it increases your beam damage. You can either have these on or off. So if you have them off, the beams increase damage. If you have it on, only the beam amps increase damage. So like for off, if you have, you know, your standard beam, you pick up wave, your beam gets stronger. You pick up Phaser, your beam gets stronger. But if you have them on, you have your regular beam, you pick up Phaser, you pick up wave, your beam doesn't get stronger. They only get stronger through collecting the beam amps. And you can set starting items if you want. So if you just, again, want to explore a world with the map revealed, you don't want to have to do a whole lot. You could, you know, start yourself out with morphin bombs. So this, you have 3 options. You can always start, you know, the green is like, you will start with this item. Red is you're not going to start with it. And then you can select it so that there are possibilities. And you can set up to 5 starting items. So like you can have this whole, if you want the whole list available for it to pick from and give you, 1 to 5 of these to start with. Or none. 0 to 5, I should say. So that is all the things you can start that or set with that. And that's basically it for the advanced thing. There's a whole lot you can do, a whole lot of things you can tweak. And if you find something you like, you can export those settings, name it, whatever you want, and share it, with other people. Or you can import, settings from someone else, like we have with the tournament pack. It got settings for that. So that's how you would do that. So that's kind of like an overview of Planets itself. Let's actually... I don't want to do a new seed. You know what? Let's do this one. So this one. Oh, I remember one room. I want to play a seed. Kind of go over some like general, I guess, tips and tricks within the game. So there's a lot of gameplay things to it. And I think the best way to demonstrate that is actually going to be in the seed. So I did play this seed. I was vetting it for a tournament match. Did not use it because of a room that is getting removed from the tournament pack. So anyway, like this start, it's straightforward. Go left. There's no other options. Kind of at the start of a seed, when I'm going through it, and again, I'm not the best player at Planets. I do okay. And everybody's going to have their own way of doing things. But generally, with the settings, what they are for the tournament, so it's chaotic progression, chaotic layout, so the elevator connection can be anywhere, my progression can be whatever. We start with a core item, which I should actually look. Is that on here? Oh yeah. So I start with phase core. We'll get to that. I will try and collect all the cores. And to go over the cores and specific uses. Starting with Phazon is not... I'm glad I have it. So like if this were a new seed, I am glad I have this, potentially. But I'm not going to equip it. Phazon doubles your damage, but it will drain your health continuously until you're at 50 health. If you collect any health drops at that point, you will get the health drops, but then it'll drain you back down to 50. That is how Phazon works. It used to just kill you. It used to just keep going. Vacant decided, we'll stop at 50. I don't know why you did that, Vacant. But having Phazon's nice, because for the late game, or maybe even earlier, depending on what I get, I may turn that on. And I don't have to find it or anything. I just have it. The next thing, with the landing site, like, but this one's pretty straightforward. It's go left. Like, there's not a whole lot there. In general, most landing sites, you're going to have like a left or right option. There's not going to be a whole lot of... Some have vertical options. But in general, how I normally go through a seed, or I guess like my progression of connections, I normally start left, up, right, down. That's generally how I like to go through things. That is not foolproof. Nobody's preferred way. If people like going right, down, up, left, that might work some seeds and may not work others. Again, it's a random world. You basically on that front, you're just kind of determining what your preference, what you think, or what you feel might be better to do at that point. There's 7 areas. So starting in criteria, there's no bosses here. I know there's going to be an elevator off here to a different area. There's probably going to be a progression item or 2 in criteria. That's not always the case, but generally your starting area will have at least 1 progression. Um, there's basically, I mean, like right now, it's straightforward. You know, it's go left. So there's not a whole lot going on. I know there's going to be an elevator. You know, really sure it's going to be, you know, a big progression item somewhere. This I know is a missile block, so I'm stuck, you know, going up here. Again, room knowledge is a big thing in planets. Just like I don't necessarily have to check this when entering the room because I'm already familiar with this room, but and this is a feature. I'm going to harp on this a little bit. Firing your beam when it hits a block will reveal missile blocks. So it is good to hit something. If it's something that clearly the room is indicating is a destructible block and your beam does not show the icon, that is a bomb block. And you can reveal bomb blocks by shooting it with a missile. Your beam won't reveal bomb blocks. But your beam is a very good exploratory. If you're curious about this wall, this might be a missile. Shoot the wall. you can... Spamming your beam is a good thing, especially once you get long beam. And you can just... If you don't want to press the button, just hold the button down. There's an auto fire in the game. It's not as fast as, you know, spamming it, but it works just fine. So early on, mostly just walking through, trying to figure out. That looks like a morph tunnel right there. So that's something I can mark on the map. So when you pull up your pause menu, you've got 3 different menus. And your miscellaneous isn't too important, but you could change some things if you want. Your map, once you click on here, you can move your icon. You can, at the bottom, you'll see the room name, the author. So this is another way to find out what those are. And again, some of them will have hints in the name, or just outright tell you, like Spazer room or something like that. You're like, okay, well, I need Spazer for that. If you hold down the button, or in my case, the confirmation button, the A button on my controller, you can set an icon for a specific location. If you just tap it, it'll just set, you know, the little marker. If you hold it, it pulls up the menu. You can hover over the item you want and let go. It's like, oh. So when you go over it next time, it'll show the icon that you marked it with, like, okay, I need morph ball for this specific spot. That's why I didn't go that way. So if you want to mark yourself something. And like this, it's a missile requirement. Generally, I think most people mark it with like an exclamation point, because there's no missile icon. So it's just like, okay, well, I've come across these. These are item checks that I do not have. I've got this for later. Oh, and I should mention, I just learned this myself recently. If you have multiple icons, whatever your button for the missiles is, if you just, in my case, it's the R button on this controller, it will cycle through your pins. So that's a little bit quicker than, you know, dragging your icon around the map. That is something I learned. Alright, something else I guess I should mention about this room. So I know this room, the GFS Athena, I know this room right back here. There is a potential major. And this isn't something I covered in the room studio thing. Items that are placed by authors. Yeah, I didn't know that either, Feinhardt. I just learned about that like last week. Items that are placed by authors, they can choose between it being a minor or a major. When the generator builds the seed, just because a room author has selected a major item does not mean it will be a major item in that seed. It just means it can be. It could pick between a major or a minor. Whereas a minor is just strictly a minor. So one of the most important bits of room knowledge, even if you're not too familiar with the room itself, is knowing which rooms can have a major in them. Because that, like if you're going around doing a world tour looking for an item, the biggest bit of room knowledge that will help you is knowing what room can have a major. Which again, that's mostly comes with experience with the rooms. You can look in the room studio and see what the room author placed. To see if that room, that's a, rather than generating seed after seed after seed to see if that room can spawn, it's easier to, check the studio to see that. And also know there's a map station over here, I believe. Yep. Okay. So, your map scanners, this lets you ping that area on the map. And, you can scroll around, you can see, like, okay, this is pretty vertical. The reason it's vertical is because there's definitely something down here. Don't know where exactly, but there's definitely something down here. So there's different, depending on the situation, my map pings are going to be very different. Actually, no, just keyboard for super. That's all. I use controller for everything else. It's just super. Yeah, the situation I'm in this specific seed, I have no elevators, but I'm not too concerned about that right now. This is my starting area. I don't have a lot of doubt that I'm going to be finding an elevator. Just I'm going to have to come across an elevator normally. So right now, I'm not too worried about pinging around here to find an elevator. That could change later, but right now I'm not worried about it because I have nothing. I have to keep exploring here anyway. I am going to find an elevator at some point. Like that's not a concern. So pinging around here, to me at this point, kind of useless. Like it'll get me some information, but it's not. I don't think that's going to be too useful. What I am interested in is I have this big vertical drop. So somewhere down here, there's an area. There are rooms down here in this world. Let me see. So I generally don't like going to the edges, like saving some space. Okay, so there, I pinged that. I found some stuff. Didn't have to find stuff, but I did find some stuff. Once you ping, you're kind of stuck here. You have to back out, and then you can go back in to check. So what this did, this does help me something. So I found Ridley and Crate. All right, so I know there's 2 areas down here now, 2 boss areas. And like this room literally says lift, but even if it didn't, I found this, dotted line thing. That's an elevator shaft. I know there's an elevator on this axis. So like there's going to be an elevator like right here. So this is probably the elevator I'm going to find. That'll take me into Crate and then we'll go from there. But that's generally why in this situation, again, this changes depending on the seed. Like I may have already found 2 elevators off criteria. I may have found 1. In that case, I may ping some more unexplored areas around criteria because I don't want to be caught where I'm looking for the final area for terrain and it's like off here, for instance. If I don't want to be looking through all these other places, I want to see if there's any other elevators at the starting area at that point. Because I might be missing a boss area, I might be missing terrain. So it depends on the situation. Right now, like I've got literally nothing. I have to find something here. It's going to be items, it's going to be an elevator. I got to keep exploring this. Since I have to, why am I wasting a ping? I'm going to have to explore this anyway. So in this case, I'm more willing to throw a ping out kind of an area. Like in this case, this was a pretty tall, not so horizontal thing. It's like, okay, there's probably an elevator, off here that maybe goes down here. I'll ping here and see what I find. And in this case, you know, I now know there's 2 areas. I got pretty fortunate with this. But that's kind of the reason behind that particular ping and why I might, at least in this situation, ping there versus, you know, try and find more criteria. Again, if I had gotten something, oh hey, there's more. If I had got something, if I had an elevator already, like, to me at that point, it probably still may not ping criteria, but it would be more valuable to ping it because I want to eliminate it as a potential option later on down the line for another boss area or for terrain. So again, there's the E-tank back there. I shot the floor, my crumble blocks. Showed me the missile blocks. So I can get an E-tank after I get some missiles. No, yeah, let's use Spud. Stop flying at me. So, something else, just to show right here. Damage boosting is in this game. There's 2 different types of damage boosts. You've got a horizontal one, and then you have a more vertical. It's not really vertical. It can get you up a little bit higher. So you've got 2 different types. So basically, to do it, you're doing it the opposite direction of what Samus faces. So like in this case, if I'm facing this way, I can only damage boost to the left if I'm facing, or damage boost to the right if I'm facing. Excuse me, sorry. And to do that, you have a small window after you get hit by an enemy. I don't have an on-screen display I could show. But basically, after you get hit, you got a small window to push the direction you're not facing. So in this case, if I got hit here, push right, and then press your jump button. You'll see that little thruster pack thing after getting hit. That is the window in which you have up to do it. Is when that thruster pack is there. So once you see that, you could push, you know, the direction you want and jump to do it. And to do the more vertical one, instead of left or right, you'd push up, left, or up, right to do the more vertical. It's the vertical one, very, very limited usage, but it can get you up on the ledge that might require high jump otherwise. But it's not super. And enemies drops are slightly different. So your crawling enemies, for the most part, are all going to have small drops, which are worth either 5 or 10. Your bigger enemies are going to have the bigger drops are worth 20. And your missiles are either going to be 2 missiles drops or 5 missile drops. The 5 missile drops have a little extra thing on them. Oh, here's an elevator. And screw attack. All right. So screw attack is nice. If I get space jump, this seed's combat is basically non-existent at that point. I will say, I saw somebody do this in a race in the tournament, and I disagreed with it. I forget who it was, but I saw screw attack. It was a little bit longer to get to, but it was still pretty early in the seed. If you see screw attack and can get it, it is worth getting early in the seed. The enemies and bosses that you could just shoot through with it, it's going to be worth it. Even sometimes later in the seed, it can be worth it, but its value goes down fairly significantly. Alright, so I found crate. And something I want to point off right now. I'm in a second area, but these are still low level enemies. These are still the bottom level enemies. Even though Vacant's saying the enemy levels jump up once screw attack is available. In this case, these enemies are still low level. That is one indicator of early on in a seed, if you're where the seed wants you to be for your next progression or not, is the enemy level. If you have okay, so let's say up here, you know, I had this elevator, but there's another elevator right here. So I had two elevators available. This one takes me here, where the enemies are still low level. This one took me to, you know, wreck ship or whatever. And the enemies are higher level. That's an indicator right there. You should be taking this other path, where the enemies are still lower level. Because earlier on in the progression, your enemies will be lower level. So you can kind of infer from that this is where your next progression will be, is kind of in this direction versus the one where the enemies are higher level. And like Vega said, once Screw Attack's available, generally that will bump the enemy levels up. Which again, with Space Jump, not a problem, because you can basically avoid the floor and just not be able to be damaged anyway. Don't have Space Jump. We'll see how that works out. I believe, doesn't Various Suit give you also like bump up the enemies once that's logically available? I might be wrong. I think Various Suit also does the same. But oh, okay, so yes, Various Suit does also do it. So yeah, here I've got some options. And I normally go, you know, left up and whatever, but I have some of this map now. So that kind of changes it. And I don't stick to the whole, the whole go left thing first always, because like it doesn't. You do what makes the most sense for you in that specific situation. Alright, so that's missiles, unknown resource right now until I get my main missiles. Your main missiles will give you 10 missiles off the start. So now that I've picked up that pack, I will have 15 missiles once I find my mains, unless I find some more. And I can't get that because I need missiles to get it. 6. Oh. Got an E-Tank. So your first E-Tank, you will get this jingle. After that, it will be the shorter, smaller jingle. That's basically the major item, or your first of missile E-Tank item. And that's your shorter, smaller jingle. So let's I'm assuming this is connecting up. Yeah, this is straight connector. And this room, I know this is a bomb floor. And there's a little hint, you know, enemy crawling around. Hello. Ah, there it is. So, on this, there's your little icons on the map. The open circle is an uncollected item. The close, the plus sign, or I guess the open plus is not plus. But the close plus is the item you collected. So if you see that on the mini map up on the top right, like, okay, there's an item on the screen. That's a real spike. And there's some googly eyes falling to the floor, or the wall. These bushes are one thing of the particle effects being on. They're in the foreground, you walk through them. That's your little particle effect from that. Okay. Like, this is good, because, like, I have Morph Ball. I'm getting a lot of Morph Ball checks going this way. It's like, okay, this feels like it's kind of leading me somewhere. Okay. I'm gonna redo this room here, but... Ooh, I wish I could get this. I'm gonna redo this room. This is a combat room. So, this is now very noticeable. It's the little gray square around the map that used to be your only indicator. It would flash red if it was a kill all enemies room. Now, when you enter this room, there's this big, giant, flashing red thing. It's like, okay, that is definitely a kill all enemies room. This can work. Allegedly. Look at that. That's supposed to happen. Yeah, because you get that initial warning. It's like, hey, kill all enemies room. And now you can see the border up there still flashing red. So there's still enemies in there. There's still enemies in here. So I am very familiar with this room. There's no more trouble here. And this room also only ever has a minor item. But once you kill all the enemies, you get a big flashy green thing. The border's green. You know you've got them all. And that could do various things. Like, mostly it's, you know, some blocks will break. So, every morph thing's leading me to this other elevator. Which, this elevator has a map and a major, so this is a very valuable elevator. So, this also did not take me to Ridley. That's interesting. No, Ridley's right here. So, whenever you come across a vertical elevator, and you have, but even without, it's worth checking. But whenever you come across that, it might be worth checking to see if it's this room. If you haven't got, if you still have like outstanding criteria, Brinstar or Norfair. If you have one of those three left. Because if it's a vertical elevator, at least in this room, there's almost always a major item right here. Plus, the map. And, okay, yeah, there's missiles. Yeah, there's no horizontal elevators in the game at this point. If you send Vacant $10,000, he might think about it. So, this map, that's kind of what I would have expected, because I knew Ridley was right here above us. But I might, my first inclination is to ping around this area, figure out where that elevator is, or actually, that's not as helpful as I was wanting. I was thinking that maybe, you know, I might catch an elevator up there that was going down, which might lead to Ridley. Did not catch that, but I did at least get something out of it. Oh, I need something to get that E-Tank. Okay, this room, I just know off the top of my head, has a potential major down there, but I don't have the items I need. Bombs and ice. There's two things that this enemy does, though. First, it lets you get the item down there. The second is it unlocks this door. So that is another thing that combat room can do. Ah, this is a wave beam fake out room, which means it has a giant side hopper. People like to get a little tricky, because normally this is a wave beam. But when you have an enemy just spawn in there... Ooh, and this is usage right now. So yeah, like, I'm still feeling good about this map. Like, missiles are almost always an early thing. And the enemies, that giant side hopper was a level 1 side hopper. That was not a stronger side. So. like as far as what the seed wants me to do, I'm feeling this is still very much on path. Although these enemies are a little bit stronger. Oh, let me go back. So yeah, this is a hazard room. And you can tell that your particles are on. When you open a door, you see that puff of stuff coming out of the door there. That's how you know it's a hazard room before going into it. So again, during the tournament, this is allowed. Now, I should have 2 energy tanks. Just a second. No, I don't think this one counts, but generally you should have like 2 tanks before trying to do a hazard run. But I'm going to play very loose with that suggestion. Alright, and missile collection, this is a preference thing between... Everyone has their own preference. I personally prefer to collect quite a bit. I generally collect more than most others because I like having the buffer for later just in case. Okay. This is like not in reach without long beam, but if you have misses, you do. Okay. Like this. Oh, okay. So, missile collection is definitely largely up to the player. Like, I think some might be fine right now with 45. But... Oh. Oh. Ooh, okay. Crystal. This is a good time for this. Alright. So, Crystal. For its energy as... Basically... This is your... A lot of people call it baby Varia suit. If your health reaches 0, it will drain 1 missile and give you 5 energy. So this is another reason why I like collecting a lot of missiles. Because it may just be an orphan Varia suit somewhere stupid. And if I end up with Crystal and I have a lot of missiles, it's not gonna really matter. Because like 25 missiles, every 5 missile pickups you get is another entire E worth of energy. Oh yeah, there it is. Fact. Look, another hazard room. Got crystal for this, great. But yes, point out there is a cooldown when selecting these. It's standard 5-minute cooldown once you equip one. Now, there's a couple of things that could change that. There is a core item called the Dynamo that reduces the cooldown to 3 minutes. And the other thing is, if you collect another core, the cooldown just goes away entirely. You could switch it right away. So if I'd equipped Phazon a minute ago, and then collected Crystal, I could switch to Crystal right away. If I chose to. But there is a cooldown, so... Again, I don't pay that much... Oh, and speaking of Dynamo, that is Dynamo right there. So, yeah, that'll reduce cooldown to 3 minutes as more hazard rooms show up. Not liking all these missile doors draining my potential health. No. Yeah, right now this is a hazard run I'm perfectly fine doing. I've gotten 2 majors here. Basically, I'm just doing this to see if I happen to spike anything else at this point. Like more missiles, another eating. another core, maybe? Or if this is a dead end or an elevator. And now you can see my missiles draining from my health. And, you know, you could just get high jump. So yeah, because I had Crystal, I survived until I got that. And here's where next mechanic that may be a little, if you're new to planets, to Enigma, this may be a little bit harder to get used to or know when to use it. Is the respawn. Respawn definitely worth using a lot. It takes you back to the last save location, which is your last elevator platform you touched, or if you were went into the ship. But it completely refills your missiles and energy. Respawning is very powerful. Plus, you know, I've traveled that whole distance now. I didn't need the death animation. Respawning is faster than the death animation. And I got a new map thing here, so I'm curious. There's gotta be stuff over here. I don't know how exactly it's getting over there, though. Because that's a dead end. There's nothing else further that way. So, a couple things I can go for. I can look, you know, scan more Ridley. I could scan more Kraid to try and find the boss, because knowing where the bosses are can be important. That can give you some direction, especially, so like if you're later in a seed, you had basically the three non-boss areas, if you include Brexit. You go through those and you don't come across, you haven't beat any bosses yet. Having them mapped out so you could, if you have like all your majors, to head straight to them can be useful. That is another thing you could do with the maps. In this specific situation, I want to ping over here because there's something here. The map scrolls over here. But I don't know where or how it gets here. So, all right, on the elevator and Kraid. I'm assuming that's Kraid. I'd be shocked if that wasn't Kraid. Yeah, that's Kraid. And like right here, just respawn from this. Takes me straight back to the elevator I'm going to anyway. Respawning should be used generously. Like the worst case scenario, you're like, okay, well, nah, if I jump through this. The worst case scenario is like, it would have been a couple seconds faster not to. But now you hit at full health and missiles. I guess actually the worst case scenario is you accidentally respawn when you didn't mean to, and it took you farther away than where you were. Let's see. So that's just a dead end. Okay. Alright, well, like a high jump. High jump, ice, and missiles. Still need bombs for this. I remember why the seed was not used. I think I'm coming up on that, but... So, okay. This is another author thing. I know Hero Fire, with these rooms specifically, these little like vent type tiles are always used to showcase like a tunnel. Let's see. So in Crystal, so right now, Crystal's generally just a safe core to have. So it prevents some untimely deaths if you have the missiles. Oh, okay. Yep, I have. All right. Nothing to say about that anymore, because that got fixed. And I beat Metroid. So important to note, the ball walk. Oh, yeah, I can beat Metroid. Screw attack can get rid of rippers. Yeah, this Kraid, pretty... You can play it pretty safe. If he cooperates, and you can make him fall. Kraid actually is probably, for newer players, a scarier boss to do. In this case, you know, he cooperated really quick, where I could make him fall onto that ledge. And then right here, the height difference helps, because he's got those 3 spikes. This height difference, your beam or your missile will get in under his bottom spike anyway, so you can just shoot him. In general, when you come across the boss area, you want to beat the boss while you're there. Because again, I know... Actually, let me go back to that. I don't think I can get so better, if I remember the seed right. But... in general, you don't know if you're ever going to need to come back to that boss area. I can. Interesting. What was it? This is training. Okay. So this one, I need to get some beams for it. Alright. Which is good information. I know I'm not going to have anything... if there's any area locked by terrain, I will already have all the beams for it. So I know I've got to go look at this stuff. So this, I don't think this works. Yeah, no. Fancy looking room here. Again, having a screw attack makes jumping through rooms a lot easier. Alright, well, Crystal Core is not invalidated with various super, but it becomes a lot less of a protection. It can still prevent accidental deaths. Also, oops, I forgot it. That's fine. So that could be a problem with respawning. I actually probably lost a little bit of time doing that. Sometimes you forget where you last saved. Or set your spawn point, I guess I should say, not necessarily saved. And honestly, at this point, I am already tempted to turn on Phase on Core. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and do that. And now my energy's draining. I got, you know, the little Phase on particles or whatever coming off me. Damn it. Damage flashing. I'm just gonna be draining health until I'm down to 50. And so a good, you know, different cores do different things, and some, you know, have a good set of compatibility with each other. If I find core capacitor, which will let you re-equip 2 cores, having Varia, Phase on, and Crystal on to prevent accidental deaths, because, again, enemies later on are going to deal a lot of damage. It is very possible to die, even if I had tinny tanks, because my health is just going to keep draining with this core. Those cores work well together. But again, it requires you to have the cores plus capacitor. And Phase on doubles just to... My stuff does double damage with Phase on. That's what it is. I also know I'm getting a free energy refill up here, so I know there's a tank here. And yeah, even though I have Varia Suit and Crystal, I'm still going to be picking up E-tanks. I mean, for one, it's a free refund. Two, it's useful in general. It's, you know, more health, more good. I'm not gonna, like, once I get to, like, at this point, with 4 tanks, if there was a tank that was available, but also, like, kind of a pain to get to, I might consider skipping that. If I had 5, yeah, I'd probably skip any tank that's a bit more of a pain to do. So another morph check here, and to another morph check. Alright, so in this case, this is one of those spots where you might be tempted to respawn, but you'd have to look, like, I have to walk back here. I have to do this path, because I want to get down here. This is where I'm going. So I got, you know, that many screens to get there. If I respawn, I spawn here, and then go that path. Realistically, probably about the same, but there are situations where you might respawn and it's like, I was actually closer to where I wanted to go at the time. But like in this case, since I have Phazon Core, the respawn still might be beneficial because then your energy gets filled back up. Again, if you're a newer player, I do not recommend putting Phazon Core on. not at this point. Even with this item set, I wouldn't recommend it. I mean, you're gonna be fine for a while, but you will probably take a silly death somewhere. Like, that's almost definitely bound to happen. Okay, so this room. Oops, you know what? Before I come up here, there's an item dot directly to the left. This is an immediate dead end. I'm going to check this right now. Major. There's one of the beams I need. Oh, what? This is a good little spot to show. Okay, so if you've watched any of the tournament, you may notice some players jump up slopes. Running down them is fine, but you slow down a little bit when just running up them. So whenever possible, just jump over or just continuously jump up the slope. It just saves, you know, a little minuscule amount of time. And this also dead ends it. Alright, well, this is good. Yeah, my health is going to get low. These aren't high-level enemies over here, so it's, like, I'm not really in immediate danger should I get hit. Oh, yes. Also, these lifts, the non-elevators, the actual lifts, these can go vertical up or down. If you think you're stuck somewhere, try riding the lift again. Like, it can do multiple stops. I know that has got some people before. So just try riding that lift up and down. Alright, well, you know what. I had this stuff for it. It's a quick and easy missile. Plus, I only have 60 missiles right now. And so jumping up slopes. Well, this room will be a good place to showcase. Right here is a good place to showcase this. First, let's... Okay. So I have high jump. I can get up. If you're a newer player and you're racing someone not new, this is something you should know. And in general, this is very helpful stuff to do. So the controls off here are based off Metroid. In Metroid, you can roll off, unmorph, do a mid-air jump. In that game, it's because when you unmorph, you're just in your standing animation, and you could just jump from it. That's why you could do it in Metroid. So it's added into planets, and the unmorph jump, probably the most useful thing to know for a player. Basically, all you have to do is unmorph, press jump. What you cannot do is push left or right and then jump. You have to, the jump has to be the next input after the unmorph. Like, you can delay it, but it has to be the next input. You can't do left or right or anything else. You know, you have to unmorph and jump. So what you could do with that, like with this room is just, this is off limits. You're not doing this without high jump, and which we have. But this is a good demonstration room because bounce, unmorph, jump. There you go. In most cases, this is a small room, like a little item room. Like this. And so again, it's super helpful. Like this specific room likes having a little 1x1 room off of that. So it's good like at this specific situation for that particular room, but in general your unmorph jump is helpful everywhere. It is why morph is your most powerful tool. Once you have morph and bombs, you can basically explore literally everything. Basically. I mean, that's not always true. But for the most part, you can get anywhere with just morph and bombs. Outside of a few other blockades, like missiles or something like that. Beam checks and stuff. But room exploration-wise, if the blockade is literally just jump-based, you can basically get around. Super powerful. So the spring... The spring bounce, you can do this from a spring bounce as well. So it's just like rolling off a ledge and morph jumping. It's basically the same thing that you do that. This can get you a whole nother pile of height. So say, okay, so you see my head, I'm a tile short of the ceiling there. I gain that tile height with the spring bounce. So if you don't have high jump and you're just a block short of being able to cross or get up a ledge, and you have spring ball, you can do a spring bounce to get that extra block. So that's another thing you can do with spring ball. So I know I am familiar with this room, so I know there's a couple doors down here I can get to. That. And that. Something I should mention, which I did not. It wasn't in the high jump. It was the wave room, I think. What's this? Phantom. Not one I personally care too much for. But Phantom, every core has specific uses. In this case, honestly, Phantom probably will never have that use for me because I have screw attack. Also, up there, that is just a bomb check, so I'm not gonna... I already know that. Need to bother checking it. And this room I'm pretty familiar with, so just do all that. I want to get back, see if this room does the thing still. Yeah, there's a couple more doors in this room, but they're up there past a bomb check. I want to get back to that wave here. This door was at the other door. Oh, okay. What's that? Let me see if it still does it. Because there was a little... I didn't explain it as something I should have. There was a little... music cue. Okay, it still does it. Okay. So the music changed to the item room music from Metroid. What that signifies is, first, there's a major item in the room. Second, this is a small room. It's either one block square or it's two screens. Like, it's a maximum of 2 screens for this. And third, there's no enemies. If there's an enemy, the music won't do this. But because this is here, the music, this specific track is here, I know there's a major here. So, like, that could be useful because, you know, some people might make this room. You get a missile, and, like, okay, got an item, and don't notice there's a hidden path behind it where the major is. So if you hear this music, you know it's either an elevator room that's 1 or 2 screens with no enemies, or it's a major item in a room that's 1 or 2 screens with no enemies. So again, some authors might just place a Zebetite in a corner to get past the enemy thing to make the music not change, but that is a way to tell. Sometimes it's majors. I know what's the next. This is the part I remember about the seed, and this is why the seed was not chosen or was excluded from the tournament, because there's a room that we had some slight disagreements with. This is... And... Okay, you know what? Let me just... Alright, so Phantom... This is what Phantom is. It basically makes you intangible to enemies. They don't see you? So like this side hopper, it's not gonna... It doesn't know I'm here. If I shoot, I appear, and now the side hopper is aggroed on me. And it also doesn't help right now because Screw Attack, that breaks you out of... That gets rid of the effect as well, so the enemy sees you. Just why... In this situation, this core not super useful. This is useful. Because this leads to this room, which has enemies in it. You might think is a dead end. But that crumble bridge there, that crumble thing, that's what we disagree with. That's why, like, no. That should not be in there. And bombs were back here. So yeah, here's a 1x2 room. But because the enemies, the music didn't change. That's why. Yeah, that's why the seed was not in the tournament. Because that specific crumble thing. Let's see. Now I can get out of here. That's all I needed here. At least for the time being. Oh, you know what? Oh. Here's one. Let's do this right. Okay. The bombs. Bombs. Orphan bombs. Okay, hold on. Let's finish this Phantom Core. Okay. So right now, Phantom Core, not a whole lot of usage. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. Like, there's still gonna be some instances where, you know, it might be nice for the enemies not to aggro on me right away. But because I got Screw Attack, I could turn Screw Attack. But I don't know why we do that. So Phantom Cores, has actually won races because of Metroids and the escape sequence. Because again, enemies don't aggro on you. And with Phantom Core, player A was able to get by the Metroids, whereas player B didn't have it. And with no ice or anything, unable to get by these Metroids. So, like, there's very specific situations for some cores where the core is just like super useful, and then otherwise, and some of them are pretty niche or very niche, but there is every core has a use at something. So anyway, let's talk about some bomb jump, because with Morph Bombs, no other vertical stuff, any vertical thing you can basically climb around. So bomb jumping, there's a couple of ways. In Planets, bomb jumping is pretty free. It's one of the easiest games to bomb jump in. Basically, you can start off and then just stack your bombs on top of each other. Or you can... It goes a lot faster if you double bomb jump, which, again, it's super free, and... like, this lets you get anywhere. And because there's no horizontal momentum, you can... as long as you time the bombs right, you can... yeah, see, I'm not... That's me not timing the bombs right. That's why that's failing. That's not the left or right momentum doing anything. You can cross horizontal gaps with it, and you could unmorph jump out of it. Again, super powerful. Like for any high jump check, if you have morphin bombs, if you just lay a bomb, just one, unmorph and jump, you can cross any high jump. And then I suck at bomb jumping today, and the easiest game to do it in. And then when you get somewhat close to the ledge, unmorph and jump saves you that extra time bomb jumping. It's the bomb jumping and unmorph jump combined. That makes everything in the game. It just opens up basically all the exploration stuff for the most part. Again, there's going to be item checks somewhere where that's not always true. Oh, and once you have Spring Ball, and once again with the slopes, you are slower rolling up them. Spring Ball up them. Again, very minute little time save, but it is a time save. Again, quick, easy, free missile. Why would you not pick it up? You don't know... So, the reason I'm picking up so many missiles, you don't know how many Zevatites are in terrain. You don't know how many are in the escape. Mother Brain, if you don't have Phase on Core, is going to take a minimum 37 missiles. Or 37? Or 33? 33. I think it's... it's one of the two. But anyway, over 30 missiles, like, minimum. Because you have the glass, and I think it's either 32 or 36 missiles. Beat Brain. So that's... If you only collect 60 missiles, that's over half your missiles. The Brain may not necessarily have a refill. If you had 10 Zevatites before Brain and you didn't refill, you only had 60, well, now you have to respawn. You're stuck in Mother Brain's room without the means to defeat Mother Brain. So having... I'd like to get at least 100. And I will pick up more than that. If they're free. Once I'm at 100, like, I'm definitely not going out of my way for missiles, but I'm not going to say no to a missile that's going to take me 2 or 3 seconds to collect. That 2 or 3 seconds might save me 5 minutes later. That is how I'm looking at it. Alright, so this was really... Okay, so if we... That's a Spazer. That thing is the Spazer Bolt. requires Phaser to open. This room. Where'd you get this idea, Gordon? And where did you get this idea, Gordon? Alright, so yeah, you can see these are higher level enemies. So the red is like the level 2 Deskiga, the gray is the highest level Deskiga. Yeah, and with very unscrew, like, yeah, I mean at this point, yeah, the enemy level is not really a concern. I expect them all to be at this level, so it's not like they're gonna lead me towards any sort of hyper progression or anything like that. This Phaser? Yeah, that's so I know, because I already saw the train elevator. I know I need a Phaser. Oh, this room. I think I need long for that room as well. So it's a kill all enemies room. You could, you know, obviously that's the normal way to do Zebatites. However, something I've noticed some of the newer players aren't aware of. If you just get up next to the wall of something, like if there's a missile block at your feet even, or just on a wall, if you're right next to the wall and against it, and you shoot down, your missile will hit the block or the Zebatites. I know that one's... Oh, alright, well there's Phaser. So I think I still need long for that room? I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I need long. Oh, alright. Don't need to worry about that room. So, yeah, that's the trick. That works on both the left and the right walls, by the way. Not just the right. Alright, so Phaser's good. Again, free missile. If I had 150 missiles, maybe I'd consider skip. But I think that would be silly. Like, that one's so free. The 2 seconds to get it. Again, probably... Will I need that? At that point, probably not, I guess. But... Again, that's 5 more missiles I have. That's... No, less potential for... This is just this version of it. I don't need to worry about that, because I can just get to that room over here. Which is nothing. And... Sensor, okay. Alright. That was space, I should go back. Okay. So sensor is probably gonna be, for a newer runner, the most useful port to start. It doesn't do anything for stamps necessarily. But what it is going to do is show you hidden scrolls and breakable blocks. In fact, let me get back up here. So you see that little icon over the blocks here? That's saying this block is breakable. No, it's not foolproof. Hey, Seattle Music, thank you for following. This is not foolproof. As you can see, we've already been at the bottom of this room. We know the chain goes all the way through. but it at least shows you the start. So that's what sensor core does. And then I get a room that has a hidden scroll. I'll point out the effect it has there. So it is super useful for newer players because, again, like if you're in, like this is one of my rooms. If you're in my rooms, you don't necessarily know, like that one type of bubble I use to signify is a destructible block. Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah, it's useful to help you with that. When you know more rooms or whatever, sensor core becomes almost useless. But it is, for early on, it is very. So that little arrow icon on the left, that's there's a scroll. The screen will scroll that direction if you get there. So that's kind of what that's doing. Any destructible block, any hidden scroll. That is what sensor will show. It is not foolproof. Oh, this room. It is absolutely 100% not foolproof. But it will show you a lot. Okay, so this room I know there's 2 gates. And there's a potential major item here. Other switches up here. Okay, so now I have both switches. Also, this is the purple door? Yep, that's purple. Purple door is your boss door. If this is long beam, this is spatial. Alright, well, combat's irrelevant. Also, that is a destructible block for reasons. Don't shoot that. I mean, you can shoot it. Alright, so Ridley is out. I expect there's long beams somewhere. I'm gonna get through. Let's. Oh, I will still take this. So at 5 or 6 E-tanks, I feel more comfortable with phasing forward. Like right now, I'm pretty comfortable because I have space jump area, screw attack. So like my phase core setup is really good. The only thing that could really help right now is the core capacitor. So I could also equip crystal. All right, so this Ridley is just flying here on his sand tank. All right. Space and Screw turn every boss into a joke. Like Ridley is probably the most affected by this. Like you see all the stuff falling from the ceiling, his fireballs turning those. Like if I had to fight him normally, it would be a bit more of a pain. But when you have this combo with Space and Screw, Ridley is a joke. Ridley becomes an absolute joke with this combo. Now, obviously, you're not always going to have that, but all right. Well, I love them. So, all right. With that, I have every major in the game. So right now, I am strictly Gobo. Strictly speaking, I'm a Gobo. Things that could concern someone potentially. There's this path in Norfair. Could be an elevator. Brinstar could be right here, off of Norfair. You might want to keep looking through Ridley. There's some more doors I haven't been through. Might be an elevator to Brinstar, because we still have to defeat Spospo. So not knowing where Spospo is, sorry, force I have called Spospo. There's the bomb path in Criteria here. There's 2 doors. So this is where maybe some map pings to eliminate some spots would come into play. Might even map ping terrain. Brinstar could be off there in chaotic. It's like this situation right now. What you might do as a player with this specific setup, like you're not sure where Brinstar is. I probably in that case would advise against leaving Ridley, or leaving this area. Like there would be nothing wrong. Like personally, I think I would leave the area, and if this were a race. Yeah, if this were a race, I think I'd probably leave the area. But that comes with, obviously, the risk of I'm leaving Brinstar behind. I mean, how much risk are you as a runner willing to take on is kind of what that's... Like, it could be a great decision. Could save you all the time someone else might spend exploring here. Or it could just be the worst decision you've ever made. In fact, I'm just going to let it respawn. It'll be quicker to get to... I forgot. I made this elevator specifically to punish respawning. Because respawning is super powerful. So I made it so you have to travel the extra distance. Alright, with 6 E-Tanks, I'm pretty... Like, if there's another free E-Tank, sure, I'll take it. But with this setup... Now, if I didn't have Various Suit, yeah, I'd still probably put a little more work into it. For an E-Tank. Oh, man. And treadmills with space jump is super useful. As you keep that same momentum throughout the space jump. Alright. Nice. So here's one of the downsides of sensor core that I think does hurt people sometimes. Like, the icon's over the block, yes, but we'll get to that in a second. But when you turn it off, the icons aren't there. If you become over reliant on just seeing that icon to determine breakable blocks, that will hurt you. Like those kind of had cracks or whatever, so it's like, okay, that kind of makes sense, but don't be too blind, because that icon does cover blocks, so sometimes I think it hurts newer players because you're trying to pay more attention to the icon versus seeing the cracks. Like this tile here, it's got a crack thing in it. It may not necessarily be oh, thank you, Paragon. Sorry, I didn't even see the questions on there, sorry. Yeah, so seeing cracks, like these cracks, like, I mean, these aren't anything, but the seeing cracks thing, I think is horrible. Anyway, magnet core. This is another core this is one I tend to leave on unless I get like a specific situation to turn on. Like in this case, I'd probably just have face. But this is what it does. It drags in pickups from enemies. And now that I have long beam, like at this point, there's really no reason not to just be spamming your beam, honestly. Like, and especially with magnet core, like long beam and magnet core are an excellent combo to have together, and you don't even need core capacitor. I should probably go get the items because I do want to get all the cores. Because like I could be destroying enemies up in front, getting their pickups, and it's super handy for, you know, crystal core is good for Azure runs. Magnet core is kind of a budget version of that. And when you have long beam, it can be almost as powerful because you can be destroying enemies, or destroying bigger enemies, getting bigger health drops further on, getting the pickups drawn to you like that. Like, it's very, very useful for hazard runs as well. You see, like, just big energy coming at me for some reason. So Magnet Core works really well with that. Magnet and Crystal, like, if you don't have various suit, Magnet and Crystal, probably the two, if you can equip two, the two cores you kind of want to have for hazard run. They're very strong for that. I mean, in general, like, later on, Magnet Core is, in general, just good to use in terrain because, again, if you get a terrain that has 1,500 Zebatites in it, oh, alright, that's a good one. Being able to just, destroy Rinkas out in the middle of nowhere, so that's useful. Alright, there was nothing there. But being able to just destroy Rinkas or other enemies that are going around, getting missiles refilled while, destroying, however many Zebatites are in your way, keeping your missiles up. It's very good. You don't have to go out of your way for the pickups. It's very, very good to, for that. Actually, good lord, it's just already 5. I'm gonna... maybe I can't... There's a race at 6 I commentate. I need to... think of what else. I don't have any other cores. Okay. Let's talk about... Aegis. Aegis core. So that's the core with the little green, like, diamond in the middle. That nullifies knock. Not super useful in general. Like, you're not damage boosting with it because you can't damage boost without the knock. So it eliminates that as a possibility. So I know some players don't like it because of that. It just gets rid of that option. It does still have its uses. There's not in the turning pack, but there's a room where, like, that is a way to skip space jump with bomb jumping, because there's a turret room where you're gonna get knocked down if you don't have that. And then for Mother Brain, like, you could just sit in it. If you could just fire straight across that Mother Brain, you could just sit there and tank whatever damage, because you're not going to get any knockback, and just hit Mother Brain. So Aegis is pretty good for those. What other ones have I seen? Stun. What's the other one? There's one more besides Stun. Stun and Aegis and Chrono. Okay. Let's go over it. Chrono's, it gives you like a circle around Samus that basically slows down time for enemies. They just slow down. That one also has uses for Metroids. That's because they can't go faster than you when that course. So if you get ahead of a Metroid, they can't catch up if you're moving forward. That's just not something they can do. Same with any hallway bugs. So again, like, situationally, like in an escape with Metroids and you don't have ice or screw or space, Chrono Core is another option for getting through Metroid infested rooms. Again, they're sometimes super situational, but they do have uses. Alright, so... Okay, here's an elevator system. And something else about this room, which you probably know by now if you've been... Bottom left item, it's bomb locked, but in this case it's not gonna be, but this is a potential major item. Oh. always good to know where your potential majors are. So yeah, Chrono, again, super specific. I kind of like the core in general, but yeah, that's obviously a player preference thing there. But it does have a very niche use that's can be very powerful. What's the others? Stun? What was the other one? So yeah, stun is... I find it a lot more useful before ice. But stun is very nice for... Oh! Stun. Here. Stun is very nice for the bosses. Specifically Kraid and Ridley. They are... Basically, it gives... If you're familiar with Metroid at all, enemies had like a brief hit stun. When hit. And that's what stun is. That used to just be in the game, but now it's an optional thing. So that's what it does. It just stuns them. With ice, it's less useful. But if you don't have ice, it's not a great way to show up. It's a dead end. Yeah, with ice, I find its use is definitely lessened, but it will still, because the bosses don't freeze, it will still stun them even with ice. Or, you know, give that brief little stun thing going off. Yeah, right now what I'm doing is mostly, I want a map. So I'll have 3 map pings. I also really want to find slow spot. Oh, here's the map. So yeah, you see the stun that was happening to the enemy there. That's what stun is. I like having stun early. And then kind of... Once ice shows up, like your regular enemies are going to freeze, so at that point it's like, well... It's... I mean, it still has the use for the bosses, but... It's pretty, limited overall at that point. Alright, so 3 map pings. I have 2 goals. I want to find Brain. I find... Alright, they're supposed to go. Alright. There's a path there. Alright, I've narrowed Brain down to the left side of terrain. Left of the elevator. So that's some good information there. And I found Spellspell. Let's go deal with Spellspell. Yeah, later on, once you get... your map pings are still useful. So, even if, let's say... You think you're in go mode. You know where... Like, you've already pinged the bosses, whatever. You know where they are. So that's not a question. What can... still be useful is, even if you know where Brain is, getting a map scan to ping the map, find the rooms in that escape. Because if you're missing, like, say, Spazer Beam or something, then you might be able to see a room that's literally says Spazer Check or whatever in it. And then you're like, okay, I'm still missing an item. So you don't have to go to the escape and go through it just to find out you're stuck by, you know, whatever item you might be missing. So the other bosses didn't really say much. Spospo still has stuff. So Spospo, weak to bombs. There's 2 points. First is the core, that's where you damage him. But the second is his little base here, which this room is kind enough to let us bomb. 3 bombs will trigger him to open. And then, yeah, he is very weak to bombs. Yeah, if you have Spring Morphin bombs and... Why am I in here? I don't want to be in here. That's going to be direct ship, and I want us in direct ship. Oh, get out. Yeah, without phase on or anything, you can bomb his base open. If you can lay one bomb to hit him first once he's open, and then try and stack 3 bombs on him. If you do that, the 2 round is easy. You should be able to just stack 3 bombs on him after that. Let me turn ice back. And actually, I probably turn phase on soon. Yeah, once you have ice, the stun core again really only affects bosses at that point. It's just like not super useful. All right, pathway's continuing. It's a good sign. So yeah, space is screw. Even just screw, you can keep these guys away. And like with this, almost, nope. What I'm trying to do, that's it's like if you did not have ice or anything else to deal with these, like you in a room like this, you can get the Metroids set up in a way where you can still advance. Screw is very good for that. Having space really helps too. Let me get space on back on here. They force damage, that's great room for potential explosive. Okay, good. That's what's Alright. So, brain. Well, this is just a simple brain. Actually, if I just freeze that guy, I can just stand here and... there's 3 doors. Your escape door will always be the door that's locked. And this is going to be a super short escape. Again, the escape timers are very generous. In fact, this is not the elevator. The elevator should be coming here. Yeah, the elevator's literally right. It's going to be the mall elevator again. Let's go. Of course it is. So there's... And this is fun, because there's a lot of ways to get through stuff. And there's a lot of logical things, and then there's a lot of potential ways around it. Like that Metroid room, if you didn't have ice or whatever, it's possible to sneak by the Metroids with Phantom, possibly. It might have been possible to get by them with Chrono. You could use Screw Attack to try and get them jumbled up under a ledge where they can't get you later. So there's a lot of different ways of doing things, which makes it really cool. And then obviously you've got your stats at the end. And every time you finish a seed, always make sure to tell Vacant you weren't paid enough, because we used to get over 30,000 Seguru for finishing the seed. And now look at this. And then you can always take a look at the very bottom item locations. This is the order the game expected you to get the items in. This is how it placed the progression, which sometimes leads to some... So like, okay, for instance, this wanted you to go to Criteria. Wave Beam I found on my way to Spring Ball, but it placed Spring Ball first. Then wanted you to go back to Crate Bombs, then go back to Criteria to go to Ridley to get your beams, then go back to Criteria, go back to where you were, but this time not go all that distance and then get it. That's your final. It doesn't make sense to do it that way. You could just see kind of how it built the seed that way. But yeah, there's a lot of different things. The bomb jumping, unmorph jumping, as far as game techniques, those are the 2 I would definitely recommend getting very used to, getting familiar with, because that's going to be the most useful. Damage boosting is there, it exists. It will help speed you up, but it's not as useful to the player, to a newer player. Sensor core, great for beginners. Don't get too used to it, because again, with that icon over the blocks, you don't necessarily see the blocks and may not notice when you have it off. You're like, oh wait, this is a cracked block that I just didn't really notice before because I had an icon over it. So very good for beginners, but don't get used to just noticing that icon for breakable stuff. And otherwise, yeah, I guess if there's questions or anything as far as other potential techniques or stuff like that, feel free to ask in the tournament Discord. And yeah, that's really all I've got for now. I need to get off here and probably drink entire bottle of honey so I can commentate the Smash later. But yeah, with that, thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoy making your own worlds and playing your own Planet Seeds, and we will catch you